hand movement and nothing happening. It wasn't doing the Zoom.
Yeah, that's
Pretty random.
Yeah.
Isn't
It is mad. It is mad.
It is mad.
It is very mad.
Oh, we're recording.
We are recording. Yeah.
Well done, Max.
Only just.
13 seconds in.
13 seconds in.
So just to bring Leon a bit up to date, we just threw a couple of. I looked at the list, see what there is. Obviously, we've got an impending election. I'm curious about that. I've got a mate of mine who stayed up all night to watch it, and I wanted to get him on. I asked him; he's a bit nervous though.
Is he?
I wanted to get yeah. And
Why did he stay up all night?
Exactly. That's why are people more interested in US politics? Do you know what I mean? There's something quite carnival
attraction?
about it. Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
So I was curious about that, what people's thoughts are on that.
Right, let's clap them.
Hey there, everyone. This is Adam here with Hear2Listen podcast. I'm here with Emily.
Hello.
And Max.
Hello.
And Leon.
Yo, yo.
Hey, we're all here. Different team. That's cool. I like a bit of variety. Hope you do too. One of the things that we wanted to approach was we're recording this. I don't know the date, but it's like the day of the American election.
It's the 4th of November
4th
today.
of November. And it's probably worth mentioning at this point that we do tend to record podcasts and then edit them and then release them a week later. So you'll probably get this a week late. So by the time you probably see this, you've seen the result of the election. But at the minute, it seems very close. I had a glance at the BBC website and it seems pretty close. So we're going to start a bit with the election stuff, then we're going to go into a bit about the new lockdown that's impending. So again, this is the Wednesday before the lockdown that's about to occur, what people's thoughts are on that. And then we're just going to do a little bit at the end about what Hear2Listen have been up to as well, because it's been quite an eventful couple of weeks and will be quite eventful, I think, coming up as well. So my starting point really, because of the election, I've got no real dog in the race really. I'm mostly indifferent to politics in general, but I'm curious about the fact that a mate of mine spent his entire night watching it, and in his words, a SHIT show, he was saying that's why he's watching it. There's a sort of carnival kind of element to it, like you're watching a freak show in a way. It seemed to be his
Staying up for the
indication.
main event. It's almost like people who stay up for the boxing and they do though, don't they? People set their alarms, they wake up at 3 a.m. to watch something or to find out the results, and then this guy's doing it. But it's a big event. It's going to go down in history, isn't it? It's one of those things, I suppose. But does it interest me? Not at the minute. Will it affect me? Probably in the future.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, do you know what's crazy?
Interested.
It's like when I turned on my TV this morning, it comes up as US election, BBC News.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, why is that at the forefront of our news? No other country do we sit there and watch their election, and it doesn't come up on breakfast, BBC One saying, I don't know, France election day, Jamaica election day.
Yeah, I mean, even reversed, USA, do you think they watch our election?
Nope.
Well, no, but do you reckon? I don't know.
know.
I don't know, because I've always seen that America and the UK, they've always been.
Yeah, but look at the size of the UK compared to America.
Oh yeah, but you look at most countries compared to the UK, and it's like we are that little blip, aren't we? Really,
Yeah.
we're quite small.
Yeah.
We've got the most, not the most amount of people, but we've definitely got.
I'd like to think
high
we're that
population.
interesting, but I think American politics, as Adam was saying, is a bit of a show. So I
They
think
make
that's why people
anything a
watch
show.
it.
That's American. That's the Americans, isn't it? Like everything is bigger, better, more glorified, or whatever. Just more.
I definitely,
It's
I haven't stayed up to watch the UK elections, but I've all in full, because they generally get counted right through to the night, don't they? But I've definitely stayed up later than I would to see where we're at, and I'm not necessarily politically minded, but I'm aware of it, and I think I'm aware of the consequences of certain things happening, and there's absolutely nothing I can do other than vote, which I do. But yeah, it does. I don't think it makes me anxious, but I'm definitely aware that I want to watch it. I want to see it.
see what happens.
Yeah.
Whether you watch it or not, you're going to find out the next day. Like you say, you wake up in the morning, it's on your TV screens. It's everywhere you go. It's social media. No doubt Twitter's completely filled up with stuff about it. So what is someone enlighten me. I'm not into this sort of stuff, right? And I don't waste too much energy on it. But so what's actually happening now? Who's the battle between? Because what I did see on Twitter was that someone reckons Trump is going to win by landslide. I don't know who said that, but that was one comment, and I see it and I thought...
Probably Trump, to be fair.
That's
what he's been shouting.
It wasn't him.
Apparently he claimed that he'd already won, and then he wants to stop like the counting or something at the minute, like so then he can win.
But he wants to stop the counting in places where he potentially won't win the landslide, like by a landslide, because. Right. I don't know fully how it works. Maybe maybe this is a terrible topic for us to talk about, but because it doesn't work. I know that it doesn't work the same as the UK in that we do first past the post, I think is what it's called, and it's about majority votes in certain places. And I'm pretty sure it works differently over there, and it's about percentage votes and things like that. And at the minute, they're like you said, they're literally like 48 and 49% at the minute. They're battling out between 50-50. So, but yeah, it works a little bit differently, I think, and so. He wants to stop the votes in places where he knows that Biden is going to win. So it's Trump and Biden.
No, but how can he do that?
I don't think he can. I think he's just... I don't think he can. I hope he can.
If he does, then he can clearly do
Mate,
what
it's
he
Trump.
wants.
He can do... I feel like we're lucky that we're not governed by Trump, because otherwise I don't know, I feel like I might be a bit more annoyed by it, but I don't know. I was going to ask, though, when you're talking about voting, do you vote?
What, for the American?
No, you can't vote in America. You can't vote in America.
The thing is, when you get your own house and that, like, you get those polling cards and stuff come through, they almost like force you into doing it. So I wouldn't have done it. If I didn't have my own place and I was still living at home, and I'd probably be like, no.
Whatever, really?
Yeah, I can't. My brain capacity doesn't take in all that information. Do you know what? I'm not going to vote on something that, to be honest, I know nothing about.
Yeah, that's fair.
And even if I spent days on days on days on days listening to what some of those people say that are fighting for your vote, none of it makes sense really anyway. And none of them actually deliver what they set out to say. That's from my experience.
I agree with that. That's difficult.
I vote Kanye West in the free world. That's where I'm going. The free world, Kanye West. He's got my vote. I'm moving to America if he gets in. I'm telling you.
This is a week after the Joe Rogan podcast where he featured quite prominently, and that was a great deal of the subject there as well about like him running. I mean, he was saying he was running for 2020, but it's like, you're a bit late, mate. It's kind of happening. But he's highly confident that he's going to be
I don't doubt for a
4 years.
second. Like if when you look at it, all right. When I actually said, how long's Trump been in power now?
4. He's had 4 years.
4 years, right? So before he got it, right? I remember I was still plastering because I used to be a plasterer. Hey, save that for another pod. There's going to be a pod about our previous careers we just discussed. But yeah, I remember speaking to my mate who I was plastering with at the time and was doing a job for his dad. It was when Sheffield, Fairfield Park in Sheffield. It was
yeah.
Fairly new. There's still houses going up and stuff, so it was quite a while back. And I said that he's going to get it. I was like, he's going to win. And this was way before it was even sort of... It was laughable at the time. When he was going for it, it was laughable. People were slating him. He's always been quite dominant on Twitter and quite powerful with his stuff that he posts on Twitter. But I was watching it from a Twitter point of view because I was on Twitter quite a lot back then. And I actually said to Roland, shout out Roland. I'm going to give him a shout out. Roland Building Construction. It's his name as well, Roland. Dom's dad.
Who is it?
Roland.
Roland.
Roland. Not Roland the rat, just Roland. He was like, never going to happen. Never going to happen. And it did. It did. I also said that he would be assassinated shortly after. So that didn't happen. So I didn't get it all right, but there's still time for
Well, The Simpsons did predict that he was going to become a president, but they also have predicted his death. Don't know whether that's going to happen.
Perhaps
in correlation.
That's where I see it.
Who
That
knows?
might be where I might have actually had a subliminal message through The Simpsons, and that's where that first thought came from. But just the stuff that he puts out, it's like, man, it's crazy to think that someone that has said the things that he said and treated people the way that he's treated them is in the position that he's in.
In those early days as well, that first period where
build a wall.
Yeah, build a wall,
That's not even the worst
and he
of
stopped
it.
Muslims arriving from certain countries. It was crazy.
Keeps Mexican kids in cages.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
I don't know how true.
I mean,
I'm pretty sure that's true.
Like I say, I don't know enough about American politics to say. Obviously, I don't know anything. I don't know a lot about Biden, but I think this is going to be probably hated. But my view on it is I just find it baffling that after 4 years of leadership, what has he achieved? And if they're the things that we can talk about, what positive has he sort of achieved? Yeah, he's still at 50-50. Like they don't
this
seem
is
to
where
care.
my head comes into it. And I think, has he been put on that pedestal to create reactions and to create uproars as he has done?
Yeah, maybe.
Because they know that he don't care. He'll say what he wants. When you look at, all right, let's not put
Yeah,
Boris
but why
in that
vote him in
category.
again?
But when you look at their characteristics, both of them, you've got Boris and Trump. It's almost like if you had them two together on a chat show, it would be a comedy act, wouldn't it? Do you know what I mean? It actually would.
It would.
I'm not saying they're we would they are laughable at times, like we all are, but they're just the way they put out messages, right? You've got Boris. I've seen this meme pop up yesterday. Sarah started showing me. Well, she was trying to convince me that TikTok was funny, right? And so she was going through all these different posts to try and get my attention and to try and make me laugh.
Try and get you in a social dilemma.
They asked Boris what he'd done for a hobby or something, and he was like, well, as the Prime Minister, I build things. I like to build things. He was going, and then he sort of goes real quiet, and he's looking around the room, and they're like, so what do you like to build or something? And he's like, and he sort of looks at the person. You can't see the person that asked the question on camera, but you can see that he's just looked at him as if to say, why did you ask that? Like, and he's like, I build buses. I build buses out of things. But it was just like this guy, when you see the video, it's like, what is this guy talking about? And some of the misinformation and the way that he's delivered his speeches, for example. And then you look at some of the stuff that Trump says, like both of them are laughable at times, let's be honest, like, especially with the situation. Trump, for example, was he not? It may be false news that I've seen this, but I'm pretty sure this was legitimate. He was telling people at one point...
he was telling them to drink bleach or something, wasn't it? Drink bleach,
something
ultimately.
Along those lines, yeah. That's what I mean. What is that all about?
Apparently he was joking, wasn't he? Is that right?
Well, I mean, that's what you can say though, isn't it? He's the president, so you're going to say, oh, it was just a joke, or it was this or that.
This is why I don't pay attention to any of this stuff, because you don't know what's truth. You don't know like whether he said it. You don't know if it was, some Russian troll farm somewhere putting out messages.
Yeah.
And I choose not to, because I just find that quite overwhelming, because I'd like to the point where I don't know what's right, I don't know what's wrong, so it's best if I just kind of leave it alone, because there's no clarity there.
How scary is it that you don't know what's real and what's not? Like, and we've spoke about this on previous pods, and one of Jack's friends piped up about it yesterday. He's actually like, I don't actually know what's real and what's not no more online. And it's we are in that world now. We're in the society where this is a thing. So is that going to stop people from voting in the future? Is it going to make it more easier to be manipulated or to be sort of just the voting system? Will that ever go? Like, how many people actually know what they're voting for? Do you know what I mean? Like, because we're in that world. So
the answer is to go and research it, but then you go and research it, and it's just an absolute massive amount of stuff. You don't know, like, they'll typically sort of go around things like, reducing taxes or looking after the more vulnerable in society. These are very, very cliched things that any politician can say, no matter what side of the aisle that they're on. So, that's the thing that I find quite challenging. And using America slightly as an example is that these are the two people that their society deems as the pioneers of the entire society. These are the best of the best that they can put up there. And it's a joke. And I feel the same quite often about a lot of British politics as well. Like, okay, these are the best too. The thing is, as well, something that I've got a bit of insight into, I suppose, because of the amount of American podcasts I listen to, is that there've been other people come on Rogan's podcast that have wanted to be up for the nomination for either party. And I'm like, I quite like that one. Like Tulsi Gabbard seemed like cool. She was Hawaiian based and had a sort of Hawaiian mentality of kind of, she's pretty chilled out, all that. And she was in the service as well. And there were several people that I think, why aren't they up? And mostly because of kind of smear campaigns and kind of figuring out a way to kind of reduce their impact on the voting system as it is. Again, that blows my mind as well. That's super complicated. But yeah, again, I get lost, so I tap out.
I think there's a lot to do with funding as well in America and politics as well, like who's got sponsors and things like that.
They have big, like I said, they have big rallies and big things, like almost like carnival events. You said earlier, it's almost like a parade, like a carnival. They do. I remember, it's completely different, but I remember at the beginning of lockdown 1, shall we say, when I watched Tiger King. Oh yeah. And then he wanted to run for mayor or something. Did you see it? And he did. Yeah, he done it, didn't he? And he went. I don't know. I can't think.
No, I don't think he did. He hardly got any votes, did he?
Absolutely gutted when he did. At one point, it's like, if he gets enough support, because he was like, for the locals, he was like a hero almost.
Yeah, right? If it had been on, if Tiger King had been on Netflix before he went for it, he'd have won. He'd have won because it's weird that it's this weird popularity type.
And that's it, and that's where it gets a little bit.
Imagine a world where it's Donald Trump versus Joe Exotic.
Burst. Like, can you just see it come up now? Can't you?
God. Now they're going like, The Rock should run and Oprah Winfrey should run, and it's because they're popular people.
Well, look at Arnie. Back in the day, he done it. Arnie wasn't thinking.
He was just mayor of California, wasn't
he? He's
the
still something to do with
governor.
Yeah, the governor. But it does blow my mind. But this is where I struggle with a lot of things, especially like when you get the conspiracy posts and stuff that pop up, or any sort of fake news that's out there. I'm not saying it's all fake. I'm not saying it's all real. And I've said this often. And I had this conversation with my dad the other day, because he's like, talking about all the, you're crazy. Rah, rah, rah. I was like, Dad, it's like, I don't believe what I'm telling you. This is something that's just come up. We're having a conversation. I can't lose my head down any of it. I can't fall down any of those rabbit holes. And it's weird because you have that relationship with the voting system and politics. And I do. I just didn't know it, actually. But I have that with a lot of stuff. The research that gets chucked my way when you're watching documentaries that are amazing, like Social Dilemma, and it's got the stats and it's got figures, or it could be about youth crime or whatever. There's all these things that we get shown. I can take that stuff in and that information, but I still don't know it's legit. No one really does.
Think about the amount of time that it would take you to find out whether something is legit or not. Yeah. And for every subject that comes up.
But when you look at politics, it's just a promise. And what it reminds me of is my dad and my uncle, they run a local business, New Room. They do like garage conversions, just small building jobs and stuff. And they've got one, they had a quote. They quoted someone in Biggleswade to do their garage conversion. It's all priced up. Obviously, they're going to have another couple of builders in, all this sort of stuff. My uncle's an honest guy. He's not the cheapest, he's not the most expensive, but he's genuine, loves like putting the work in, all that sort of stuff. So anyway, he likes to plan in advance, a lot like yourselves, Emily and Adam. I'll point to you two because you're a lot more organised than me and Leon. But he likes to plan in advance. So materials and all this stuff, all the current situations going on, like food's not the only thing that's not on the shelves. Timber, bricks, plaster. I know builders and plasterers and tradesmen that are struggling. I also know builders and tradesmen that have been stocking up since the beginning of lockdown, making it harder for other people to then get stuff, but then making more money. It's actually mad when you look at it. But because of all that, it's planned in advance. And when you do a garage conversion, you block up the garage door. You can either have breeze block and then a plastered front, like a panel, or you have the original bricks from that house. So if that house was 20 years old, getting those bricks may be quite difficult, especially at this current time. So he looked into that. Do you know what? No bricks available. None available. So he's told the bloke, there's this option. You can get it plastered, or you can wait, or we can get bricks that are similar, and you can actually get them sprayed. Like, that's the thing that happens. It's been going about for years and years and years. Anyway, gave him those choices, and then a couple of days later, this customer phones him up and says, look, I'm really sorry, Glenn, but we've got another company that can get the bricks. So we didn't really want it plastered. So for that reason, we're going to go with them. So Glenn was like, that's absolutely fine. Thank you for telling me, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I'll try and cut this longish story short, even though I've waffled on for ages. But basically, what I'm saying is, and what my uncle feels, and he phoned up the customer 2 days after because of this reason, he feels that if he can't get the bricks, there's no way this guy can get the bricks unless he's had them in stock for 20 odd years or whatever. The builder said that he's got the bricks. Whether he's got them or not, I don't believe he's got them. He said that to get the job. Like a politician may, I'm not saying they do, may say something to get that role. This builder's done it because when it gets to the point of those bricks going on, that's the cherry on the cake. The inside work's done. You brick up the front. You've got the panel to blend in to the original bricks. So you tooth out a brick, miss a brick, miss a brick, miss a brick, and then you tooth it in. That's what it's called. So then it blends in with the original house. When it gets to that point, they'll be like, unfortunately, we can't get them no more. Completely sold out. Or what we could do, we could give you a plastered panel, or we could spray them. So they'll offer exactly what Glenn and my dad offered, but they're going to lie to get the job. And that's how I feel politics can be. I'm not saying it is because I know nothing about it, but from information passed on through older generations, stuff that I've seen, that's why I vote Kanye. Freedom of the free world.
Kanye 2024. Move to America now.
But does that make? Do you see what I'm saying though? Do you think that will? Do you think that happens? No, I don't doubt that could happen in loads of different businesses and different sort of CVs. Maybe people might glorify them to make them look a little bit better to get that job or an application form. Everyone does it in some way, shape or form, but when you're looking at the power that these guys have got, or have they? Have they even got power?
See, I think some of it, we always say, don't we, that politicians lie. They put stuff in their manifesto and then it never materialises. I think some of that is potentially because of the way people vote, and it's difficult to counter because one of the team leader that we worked with once, I can't remember her name now. She was on a little radio. She loved politics. She was really into politics, and she was saying that she was once told that you either vote Conservative or Labour, because a vote for anyone else is a lost vote. You're not going to be able to make a difference necessarily. And ultimately, realistically, that's probably true, isn't it? They're the two main parties. But when you read their manifestos, it's about what they want to deliver, but they can't deliver that if they haven't got enough people in Parliament. And for the last, I don't know how many years it's been now, we've had pretty close run parliaments, and we've had 2 coalitions since in the last, I don't know, 12 years probably. I don't know, politics has gone a little bit awry recently with all the changes through the Conservative government because of people dropping out of Brexit and this, that and the other. We've had 3 prime ministers in one season, haven't we? So
jeez.
Yeah, we voted in Cameron, and then we had Theresa May and now Boris, and we haven't voted since. So
Ooh, well, I haven't voted ever yet.
Ever?
Not yet. But I am going to vote next time it comes round. Don't know why I'm choosing to do it now.
Oh, okay, interesting. Why haven't you voted before? If you don't mind, I know it's a touch. I do get politics and voting is such a touchy subject, isn't it? I get it.
I'm quite happy to talk about it. There's not a real reason apart from not trusting, or maybe not understanding how politicians work and how I don't really understand how the parties work and how they have to win chairs and stuff like that. Yeah. It's like going in and voting. I just feel like, what's the point? Is it going to make any difference? How much difference is it going to make? And like you said, you can only vote really for 2 parties.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Which both historically probably haven't actually made or implemented actual change. Whereas I'd like to vote for, I don't know, like Green Party. That sounds like one I'd like to vote for.
No, I completely agree with you.
Do you think there's going to be a big change in that? You know, you said there's like 2. Do you think there's now, especially what's going on, do you think there might be a run for something different now?
No, I
don't. Not while the regard is it's a wasted vote.
No.
Yeah, I know, but it can't be like that forever, surely.
Why not?
Why not? It's been like that for 50 years, 60 years, longer, probably.
Going back to you, Leon, you said that you
now want
to vote. Has being a father played any part in that?
Yeah, I was going to ask that.
Not really. It's more now I've moved out and live on my own, I'm getting letters for the door. Saying, I'm on my 3rd letter. They said if I don't,
so you've been pestered into
the electoral roll. Is that right?
Yeah, you got.
If I don't enter into the electoral roll, I'm going to get £100 fine. So now I'm like, well,
really?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
They start putting heat on, and do you know what? It was a member of my family that was delivering those letters, and so I felt like I had to do it.
That is just the role.
Yeah. Being part of the electoral roll doesn't mean you have to vote.
Yeah, I know,
one step closer to
I suppose part of not voting is not having it set up. So like once I'm set up, and then it's like, oh, all I've got to do is go in and do that. Yeah. Instead of I've got to fill out a form to sign up to then go and vote. That in my head, that was just an easy block for me just to go, nah.
Oh, I've not registered.
You say that one vote, like your vote, won't make a difference. And I've heard loads of people say this, if everyone had that mentality, then it wouldn't make any difference, and the people that was in control would just stay in control. How many people out there do you think have that same mentality? Because I'm one, he's one. Like there's 3 in the room.
My brother doesn't vote. I don't know if it's changed in the last 4 years or whatever, but the last time there was an election, he didn't vote, and his reason was that he said to me, "Are my bins still going to get emptied regardless of who gets in power?" Yeah, they are, Ross. Yeah, they are. He was like, "Well, doesn't really matter then." And I was like, "You cannot only care about your bins."
Well, I say
and he was like,
similar.
"Well, basically, yeah."
I say, "Am I still going to be working till I'm 67 years old?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
After this podcast, I don't know if any of us are. Sorry, Boris.
Well, Stormzy, he says all right, sang in his songs, and he's still performing, right? So, and he still went on Glastonbury, so you couldn't stop him that much.
That's the other thing that it frustrates me, I suppose, about British politics is that we don't vote for the leader of the country. We vote for our constituency. So where I live, I vote for a separate person completely to where you guys live. So if I want a certain thing doing in my local area, I will choose someone. I could choose someone based on that, but ultimately that will add up to who gets a seat in Parliament. So I'm voting for what I want in the local area, but that's going to have a huge impact on the country. What I actually want for the country.
It's technical, so technical.
Yeah.
Yeah, that don't make sense.
It doesn't. It's all. I don't know why it's like this, but I would love to have a vote for. Maybe it's the whole, because that's different. America is different. They don't do that, so maybe that's the difference between them. But I'd love to have a vote for who leads our country, but also who's going to fix the potholes in my area and put my bins out, whatever.
There's been talk on other podcasts I've listened to about changing the political voting system, and again, mainly America, but I don't see why it wouldn't apply to us, is an online system where, you know, we've got people in this room, myself included, that are overwhelmed by the amount of information. But if it was somewhat broken down into sort of quite a digestible pieces, almost like bullet points of like if you vote for this person, it means this, and this. If you vote, and they were talking about even going a bit more detail to that about your choice about where your money goes as a taxpayer. Like, I would like it to go on there, that kind of thing.
See, I'd love that.
I think a lot of people would, and I think it's in keeping with the modern age as well. You know, the political system is based on essentially where people used to live so far away. It used to be a guy getting on a horse with a bag full of envelopes, going to the centre and kind of cashing them in. That's based on that old system. But yeah, I think it's time that we sort of move with the times, and maybe people would be a lot more interested in voting if they knew that there was that level of information plus simplicity almost as well.
I was going to say, just simplicity, just make it more, I don't want to say it, but Apple. Simple. It is. You got Android, you got Apple. Yeah, there's simplicity with an Apple iPhone, so it just is. But that's what I think they should do with politics. Just simplify.
The trouble is, I think with an online system as well, is you're always going to get people like me, skeptics, about like, well, how do I know that by pressing these selection of buttons that really it's going to happen for me?
But we have every right to feel that way.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of suspicion, I find.
But I like the idea of being able to allocate your money and where it goes, even if it was just like a fraction of your tax money. So let's say like 10% of what you get taxed, or is it normally like 20%?
Yeah, give it, I mean, basic rate, yeah.
And then if you get to choose from that, let's say like 1%, you can choose like an area of the community where that could go to. That'd be much better.
Do you think that would collapse our military system?
No, I think there'd be people that want the military.
Military to me is probably a must, just for defensive reasons. I'd like to think. So it'd be like, I don't know, saving the animals. I could go 1% of my money is going to saving animals on, I don't know, in the rainforest. And like that would actually, then other people would do that, and then that would actually be able to buy land in that area to conserve and save, as an example. Because that is more important to me than, I don't know, Boris spending £900,000 on decorating his plane. Just
you've heard that?
Yeah, no, that's fact. Yeah, over lockdown he spent £900,000 putting a sticker on his plane.
How can
we'll need a source for that if we're going to say it.
You can fact check it as well, mate.
Fact checker coming up.
Oh God, I'm actually going to have to find that now when I edit it.
Good luck. Sitting behind me.
That's mad. But then when you look at, I don't even want to say it, but say, for example, like a huge company rebranded or something. When you look at the money that costs, that sort of stuff blows my mind. And it brings me on to the same subjects as when you look at what wages some people get. Like, and I'm not saying rich people do not donate, because there's some really wealthy people that do bits and that donate hundreds of thousands, millions to help out the environment, the ecosystem, and the poor, and you know, to try to sort out poverty and stuff, but don't want recognition for it. But there's not enough support going into the places that need it. 100%. It's mad.
Just pause for a second. That camera's gone down.
Oh.
Do you want to just?
Is that where I knocked?
Do you want to?
Good spot. How?
I don't know. It's just fallen, hasn't it? I think that bit's a bit dodgy anyway. All right.
Yeah. Song and dance, smoke and mirrors. Yeah. So like we've got an impending lockdown. I was wondering what it meant to people.
Actually, before we just move on quickly, just before we move on from that, can we just sort of like anyone out there that's got sort of their views? I want to hear what the views of the viewers are with the current situation. What we've just discussed, I don't doubt for a second that our viewers know a lot more about it or a lot more in tune with it than what we are, because it's something that a lot of people do put a lot of time into. So if you have got any views and opinions, or don't like our views and opinions, let us know in the comment section below, and then we'll have a chat about it. We've had a lot more engagement recently, haven't we?
Good.
A lot more engagement.
Cool.
So yeah, keep it up. And if you have got anything to say or to add about the current election in America or Boris,
UK politics generally,
UK politics in general, let us know.
Cool.
So yeah, are we getting a speech from Boris tonight?
I think something is impending, isn't it? I imagine. I don't know that there's a speech, but I imagine there will be, because he's gone to Parliament, hasn't he?
Yeah. Oh yes, it will be tonight/tomorrow latest, I'd say. But
it'll be,
I thought it was
it'll be done, ready. Yeah.
Oh, will it?
Yeah, because midnight tonight is when lockdown officially begins.
If it all gets passed, which it will.
Yeah.
Because did you notice that he chucked that in at the end of that last speech that he'd done? He said about all the new guidelines and the lockdown and all the restrictions and stuff, and then towards the end said, if all goes through Parliament.
I think that's so that he doesn't annoy like all the Labour and Lib Dem and all the people that have got a seat and technically will have a vote. He doesn't want to annoy them and say that it's going through anyway. But ultimately, they're all standing by him because during a pandemic, what would be the point in causing rifts?
They're all following suit because they can't create another. They can't create drama within drama.
Yeah, no, definitely.
They can't be responsible for deaths. Basically, I think that's what. That's why. If I was one, that's
an extra drama that's effectively going to cause deaths. Yeah, definitely.
If I'd have said something because I didn't like it, and then I wanted it this way, and then something bad happened, that'd be me. Job done.
Yeah, they'd be like, "You said, yeah."
I was watching Gogglebox, and the Andrew Marr show was on it. I don't actually watch the Andrew Marr show, but it was on it the other day, and there was a politician, I think from Labour. I don't even know who it was, to be honest. And he was saying, "Do you agree with this? Do you agree with that?" And he was just saying, "I'm not going to say I disagree with what Boris is saying."
This is what I told you about
because we're in the middle of a pandemic and we should all stand together. And I thought, actually, as much as I don't like politics and this and the other, I think sometimes politics can get in the way of, we are talking about people dying and, a global pandemic. Yeah, push your politics aside and let's stand together. I think that's a fair message to put out.
100%.
So. And he was really pushing him for it. I thought, I get it's a political show, but come on, we are in the middle of something here.
And also, they almost want drama, don't they? They want someone to blame. That's why I do feel for the people that are in power, because I don't. Again, I think this is just my own opinion, but I don't feel like we all know they haven't got the final decision. They are merely a puppet that gets told not what to say exactly, but they've got an agenda, they've got targets to hit. Like everyone else, they've got a team, a massive team, and he's just a spokesperson to head that conversation to us lot, I suppose. And I would never want to be. Imagine the pressure, the responsibility that comes with that.
Yeah, you can think what you want about Boris, but ultimately
it's not on him.
It's not him that's making all these decisions, definitely.
That is one of the reasons why I did like Piers Morgan through the pandemic. Even though I'm not a big fan of him, he did make me laugh when he'd get the politicians on. And he would just absolutely grill them, and they wouldn't know what to say, and it'd be amazing.
Piers don't care though, does he?
He don't care. But then they boycotted him, didn't they? They won't go on it now. They won't go on Channel 3 News. I don't know if they're still boycotting.
I don't know.
Might have to fact check that.
I don't watch the news. I just watch news through Gogglebox. That is literally the only bit of news I watch. Unless there's something really sort of that I want to tune in for. But let's be honest, you're going to hear about it anyway, whether you watch the news or not.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you watch the last briefing, which was Saturday, was it? Sunday? Can't remember. Saturday.
Yeah, because I wanted to know what was happening.
I wanted to know what was happening. I did sit and watch it.
What does this mean to my life? I think was my main motivation with
Wasted 2 hours of my life.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't watch the whole one. I think there was like various YouTube sort of highlighted type videos that broke it down a bit.
See, I was waiting to watch it.
Yeah, I was sat watching the BBC News and constantly they'd have different people on filling time.
How many specialists and experts? I was thinking,
who are you going to bring on now? Where have you got all these people?
Massive queue of them just waiting to come on.
You're next. Come on.
Next one.
You're still not
20 minutes to fill. We've got 20 minutes to fill. Quick.
I saw a meme actually about how Boris was watching the rugby because the rugby finished and then he came on literally straight after. I was like,
wouldn't surprise me. That wouldn't surprise me. Yeah. Fair play, man. He's got his sport. He likes. He's
got his priorities right, hasn't he?
He might have been finishing a bus model out of toilet rolls, whatever he was making them out of. I can't remember what he said, toothpicks or something.
No, but going back to lockdown generally, you asked us how we feel. I'm really struggling to see it as a lockdown. I think I think I'd appreciate it being more like the original lockdown. I think.
Yeah.
I think I would. I think when you see the stats and I know some of the stats could be skewed. I get that I am, I suppose, a little bit aware.
Was you going to say awake then?
No, I'm not.
She was definitely
you
going to say awake.
You can't be awake. You can't because you can't know unless you're there. Inputting that data and understanding that data. You can't be sure that it's real. And a lot of it's been skewed, obviously, by the mass testing not coming in early enough. So the last peak, when you see it on the graphs, this looks massive, this peak, but that's because we've got testing, whereas we didn't have before. So I think you have to be aware of what's been going on to know what's happening. My dad works in the ambulance service and he was showing me some of their sort of graphs and facts and figures and stuff from behind the scenes, and I don't know whether I was supposed to see them, but whatever. And he was talking about, and they actually put a line on their thing like mass testing available, because they can't trust any of the data before.
Yeah.
So which means you can't really know where we are now.
No.
It definitely looks bad. It feels bad again in terms of people getting sick and actually dying.
Talking to them charts though, when before Boris done his little update and his speech, how many charts were shown? Like it was the same sort of graph.
It was so many.
Every time I walked in, because I was sorting out bits in the garden, Sarah basically...
That wasn't the annoying bit.
She had her coat on, right, and she was meant to be going around her mates, her neighbour, a couple of doors down, and she was meant to go around there for, I don't know, to chat or whatever it was. About an hour and a half later, she was still standing in front of the TV screen with her coat on, waiting for that update. And every time I walked in, it was some chart that was just... or curve like that, but it was all dramatic. Everything I see, and I'm like, oh, another dramatic graph I see. Like, but that's all I see. I didn't see all these specialists come on.
I'm quite interested in stats. Like statistics for me is a subject that I really like. I love manipulating numbers and looking at stats. So I was trying desperately to watch those graphs and look at them. The most annoying thing was that they didn't fit to the screen.
You said it.
I don't know whether it was just my TV. I don't think it was. I had other people tell me the same. They didn't have an axis. You couldn't tell what the information was about. I was like, come on, people.
That's again worrying, because if you are, you know numbers, you like numbers.
I wanted to see
numbers, right? But how can you judge or gauge anything that's on the TV screen when they're trying to give you information that you can't even see?
Yeah, I was judging them hard on the fact that they can't fit to PowerPoint properly.
That's what I mean.
So do you think this lockdown is going to have an impact? Because in my head, I'm not doing anything differently. Like, I'm going to be coming to work, I'm going home, I'm going to be going to the shops. And I don't really go out too much anyway, but it's almost just like a social
That's
lockdown.
That's what I mean. I'm struggling.
Only for friends and family that you can't see.
That's exactly what I was saying.
Going to work, you're right.
I was struggling to see it as a lockdown because nothing for me. I wasn't really popping to Primark or whatever, so nothing has changed for me. And that does worry me, I guess. And the schools not being shut, and there's so much there's pros and cons, obviously, for shutting the schools. And as soon as the schools shut the last time, people were up in arms of, children not having a safe place to be and things like that. So I don't think there is I think it's a lose-lose regardless of which way you go with it. But it is different this time. It does feel very different and not necessarily very lockdown.
So do you think it's going to continue in this way, though? Say lockdown starts tomorrow, as it's planned to, and then... how do you think that's it in regards to the restrictions, or do you think that they'll do it for a couple of weeks? Because my opinion is, I think we'll have 2 weeks of this lockdown where schools not are open, and then potentially that could be a full-blown lockdown, because I got a feeling that it'll be like, it's not really working, or because the way I look at it, and the reason I had this thought is because my son's school now, where they've been in their bubbles all this time since going back to school, since returning to school, they've been in a bubble in their classroom. They haven't left their classroom, so all the teachers rotate, so they just stay in that one room. Now, this week, he said he's been going back, everything's back to normal. They're crossing classrooms, they're mixing with other classrooms, they've got different tiered maths groups, different tiered English groups, so they're not with the same, their class, their registration class or whatever, they're not with those people all the time, but between lessons, they have to wear masks and stuff, and then playgrounds, they wear masks. But because there's no bubble at his school, and this is different across the board, we work within so many schools, we know that every school's not completely different, but they've got different things in place for different ages and all that sort of stuff. If someone has an outbreak now, or someone has symptoms now, cold, because let's be honest, it's flu season, someone gets the flu, right, or it comes back and they've got COVID, and they've actually got it, or whatever, or the results said they have, but whatever. But something happens in that school, is that then the whole school shut down because they're mixing?
I don't know. Yeah, so in theory, we sat next to 5 different people. Say he has 5 classes, he could sit next to 5 different people, could he?
Who both have 5 mum and dads that can be working their own jobs, that could be around another 10, 15 people each per day. So in my head, the whole idea of school bubbles is a myth. Because let's say you've got 30 kids.
Yeah, I know.
You've got 30 kids in a room, they've all got parents.
But at least with 30 kids, and sat next to one person the whole day, potentially. They sit next to one person all day. At least that's better. The only person coming in and out of that room is a teacher.
That is better.
It's better than 5 people, but and then the ripple effect that has.
It is the ripple effect.
But it's still,
if you're still in a classroom of 30,
bubble's a bubble. Yeah.
Let's say 20 young people, just because I think they're trying to reduce the classroom sizes.
Yeah, 15, 20.
Yeah, 15, 20.
Cool.
That's still in a room like this, what we're in, it's still close contact.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can't
it
really
is.
social distance.
It is.
The teacher can go behind the line, but young people probably can't.
They're just going wherever they want.
So then, if they're not even doing that now, it just so the whole idea of lockdown, not having people around your house, but the schools being able to do that, in my head, it's just pointless.
Who would be if I was a politician right now and I said, look, ladies and gents, we are in this situation, but what I want you to do is to be mindful of other people's values, fears, opinions, just about other people, but be responsible for your own actions. So if you want to wear a mask, wear it. But if you don't want to wear a mask, don't wear it. If you want to go and meet up with your mates and that, boom, 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 do it, right? There might be certain places that, okay, you need to, if you're in a doctor's surgery or whatever, and you're going in with symptoms. But I think just let us do what we've got to do. And I think, like, if the people, that, for example, like myself, that would be like, I wouldn't wear a mask. If I get it, it's my choice. It's my choice. As long as I'm not giving it to anyone else. But then my argument in that respect, they'll be like, well, you should wear a mask if you don't want to give it to someone else. No, if they don't want to get it and they're worried about catching it because they haven't got a mask, let them wear the mask. I don't want to wear a mask, right? I don't want to stop people coming around my house. If they're happy to come in my house and happy not to wear a mask and all the rest of it, why can't we do that as adults? Why can't we have the choice, the freedom of what we do, as long as we're not impacting other people's health and all that sort of stuff, which if they've got a mask on, they're safe, they're protected.
I think ultimately we're not allowed to do that because it's not working. And the NHS is going to get overwhelmed.
No, that was the plan. To do the lockdown was to stop them getting overwhelmed. They've never been overwhelmed.
No. That's what they're saying. So they did stop them getting overwhelmed. That's what my dad was saying as well. Yeah. From an ambulance point of view, they weren't overwhelmed, but they are starting to feel overwhelmed. So that is the reason for another lockdown, isn't it? And we wouldn't.
I wish I could see like the actual figures. Because like, in my head as well, I'm thinking in the last lockdown there was less cases. Obviously, there was less testing.
Yeah.
But no one wore masks.
Yeah.
So we'd go to the supermarket, breathing all over everyone.
Yeah.
Now we're all wearing masks and it's still just growing. It's just like, I wish I could see the stats, but...
Yeah, I don't know the stats on mask wearing, definitely, but...
I'm kind of with you.
I think it's going to be a full-blown lockdown after a couple of weeks.
The lockdown, to me, actually has quite a big effect. I don't know if it's because I live on my own, but a lot of my reliance on, I guess, my mental health is my social stuff. And it just got to the point, I think, where I was really enjoying, like, meeting up with a few mates for some board games or whatever once a week, possibly twice a week. My jiu-jitsu was kind of coming back, my, don't want to call him professor, I think they call it in Brazilian jiu-jitsu rather than a sensei, term of endearment. But he was trying to work with the gym that we're based within to kind of allow us to do what we need to do, which is obviously very close contact, and then found some middle ground around... we're just training jiu-jitsu, but we're not like rolling with other people, that kind of thing. And then there was like tape going down, and then you bubbled up with like individual people with it, so he kind of worked it out. But just recently we had to move gyms because he suspects somebody came once and said, I don't think you're following all the rules, so I'm dobbing you into the gym, I think, the gym that we were in. So we had to move gyms, but we've still... between the two, because like one of them's just training at a distance, which is all good, they're allowing that, but to actually do proper jiu-jitsu, we've gone to a different gym. So it's all up in the air, and that was happening in the last week, and now we've got a lockdown.
Right, so on that note, Adam, though, right, this is where I get frustrated, and this is what I'm on about a minute ago. Right, so you've got how many people at that group?
So there's probably about 100 that go
in
like different
class,
days.
in your class.
Different days.
Oh, wait, whatever, but on your day.
Oh, on my day, there's about
as a whole,
30, 40 people probably.
So, I mean, if all those people are happy to roll around with each other and kick the crap out of each other in whatever you do, right? They sign a piece of paper to say, look, I know what's going on with the current situation, but I like my jiu-jitsu and I want to come here once a week, sometimes twice a week, with the lads that I train with, and I want to have a fight.
Coupled with the fact that he owns classes all over the world and none of them have got any COVID alerts or whatever the thing. People might have got COVID and like isolated, but he hasn't had like infections that happen throughout and rock a jiu-jitsu class as the whole world. So, I mean...
It's just
I follow a few gyms as well, just because I normally... Since like last 10 years of going to the gym, I've been to like different gyms all over, like sort of like Hertfordshire and Bedfordshire. And a lot of them like just posting out their own videos of like how they feel about the situation, just to sort of like, I think they want their customers to sort of see them, that they want them to be able to come in, but they're just sort of basically voicing their opinion. And they're just saying, well, that's exercising and general like improves your mental health, which can also improve your immune system by exercising, and your mental health as well by getting better. So like, why are they closing gyms?
It should be an essential. I think it should be
part of like your 5 a day almost. Like if you want to, like Max says, if you want to go and train and like better your body, so then it's more, I don't know, ready to fight an illness or anything like that, then you should be able to go and do it.
Yeah.
I don't understand why there's been so much information about what not to do rather than what to do. Like, we haven't had any information about boosting your immune system. There's been nothing around the kinds of things that help you beat the disease, anything like that. I'm not even talking about corona, like just general health.
Yeah.
How about, there's a little bit came maybe 2 months into the last lockdown about people who are overweight are like more susceptible. That's about it. But that's it.
And then they launched 50% off in restaurants. So
again, I'm
out to help out.
I'm strongly influenced by the American ones, but like to see people come onto podcasts who are genuine scientists that are not necessarily working on this coronavirus per se, but immunologists, I suppose you could say, and the kinds of advice that they have about kind of raising your vitamin D, I think it is, and there's certain sort of supplements that you can get that are really good because they've like tested them and like done like blind tests and all that sort of stuff. So that information's there. I'm using it. I feel that that's probably boosted my immune system as a result and helped me get over what I believe to be a low dose coronavirus that I had maybe 3 weeks ago, and it lasted like 12 hours. Job done. Do you know what I mean? But maybe I got lucky. Maybe because of my health. I don't know. But there's various different people out there that are just far more susceptible that need to be advised about like what they can do to counter the disease.
I think some of those people are being advised. So my grandparents, I went to see my grandparents the other day because they are sort of self-isolating again just for their own health reasons and what have you. But they talked about how their doctor had told them about vitamin D and things like that. And that must have come from because they don't use the internet. So they're not listening to anything. They're not... I see them as quite...
but where's the national version of that?
Yeah, that's what I agree. I definitely agree that there could be more, definitely. You know, they're telling us to wash our hands for 20 seconds at a time, but they could definitely
on the news.
Add that to it, yeah. But they are being told.
Was to put that on the news, just saying, my opinion, if they was to put stuff like that on the news, that generates hope. And I think what we've seen is just something that generates fear. That's all we've seen is the fear generated into the news feeds, into the social media platforms. It's fear. We need some hope. That's what we need on the TV screens. Like it could be like when what's his name? Wicks. Was it Wicks, the PE guy?
Joe Wicks, yeah.
That's it, Joe Wicks. Shout out Joe Wicks. He was doing bits, like things like that. It's something small, but
he's coming back again.
You can't put it all on one man. That's what I reckon his mental health. I know he does bits and that, but he had a lot of pressure on his shoulders. Once he started something, it got that big that it's on one man. But solutions, we should be looking at ways that we can get activities. I've seen... Obviously, the lockdown 2 hasn't started yet. Last couple of weeks, months even, I've seen sports games, football games, rugby games, all this different stuff going on. A little girl can't go cheerleading. I don't understand why.
No, yeah, so professional sports are staying even during lockdown too.
Sunday leagues
from what I've heard.
Under 12s, under 10s and that.
Yeah.
They're playing Sunday league football or a Saturday game, whatever. I'm not taking it away from them because I used to play football and I'd have been gutted. But
it will be taken away,
It will now, yeah, but I mean, they didn't. But like there's certain places are getting more penalised and it's like, how can it be okay for them to do that? But then, and that's where it becomes frustrating for others. But we need to.
I haven't looked at it like that. So like, why can't let's say your daughter go cheerleading, but they can do cheerleading on TV? Who says you can do that?
What I mean.
And you can't.
I think it probably comes down to them not wanting someone saying like what they said to your leader, your gym jiu-jitsu leader, professor. That I'm dobbing you into someone because I know the person that runs cheerleading, and I reckon that she'd probably be mindful that certain parents would be well against it. We've got a mixed bag in the room now. We've got a mixed bag in population, in society. There's some people that are fully going and following the guidelines, some people that are resisting. You've got mixed emotions. People don't know what's going on. And it's like that across the board. She might have 30 parents that fully want her back doing it. She might have 5 that don't. She has about a class of 35, so it's quite a big class.
And I suppose they could be going, well, you shouldn't be doing that. Like, you're endangering kids' lives almost. They can come at it.
But they can go to school and do PE. This is what I'm saying. And they're doing stuff in PE that is like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to get any schools in trouble, but at the same time, I know there's schools that are just like so relaxed. Ones that you'd imagine to be maybe a bit more strict because of certain situations and stuff. But yeah, it's different across the board, but who knows. But I say we focus on solutions on how we could possibly get outdoor activities. For example, Mind or these mental health groups that exist, you know, they've been stopped access to churches, to community halls. They can't get into the buildings, the libraries and stuff that they used to hire to speak to their, not customers,
service users.
Service users. They can't even hold groups to help better one's mental health. Millions of pounds get funded to this company, but they're unable to do what they set out to do because the government, or whoever it is, I'm not even saying it's the government, because these restrictions, the guidelines, are shutting all these buildings. But then straight away, all right, you have not got an indoor space, but today is a lovely sunny day. Get an outdoor space. Why can't things like that start happening? If they're up for sitting outside in a communal area, if it's not raining and they're happy to do so, or under a tree, why can't that be allowed? But that's something that's, if for example, police drove past or went past and they see a group of 10 people in group therapy, they're going to get arrested for it. They're going to get fined for it. That's mad. Like, 'cause this is someone's mental health. Do you know what I mean? We need to look at what we can do, and if we can't do it, how can we do it? Because I'd be up for starting a boot camp up in the woods if I know I could do it. 2 meters apart, why not? 20 people there, so with 2 meters, 3 meters, I'll go 3 meters apart. Get the megaphone. Oh, it'd be mad. But we could do that. Why can't we do that? We're not all together. It's a coincidence that we all met here at the same time. Do you know what I mean?
I think that's some of the difficulty with this lockdown, is that there's so many loopholes and there's so many like you could in theory do that and say that, but you know, how much has that worked previously? Are we actually getting any better, or is the country getting any better? I don't know, and the stats look like they're not. So maybe we do need to do something different, but I don't know what that is. I'm not saying
how
I know
can
that,
you
what
do
that is.
that when you fully believe that you can't? Well, you know that you can't believe the stats that you're reading.
No, I do believe the stats that I'm reading.
Yeah, but whether it's not down to seeing the phylaxis on the chart.
Yeah. Not being able to
so
see the
you
axes.
don't even know what the thingies were, the ratios were, or whatever.
Yeah.
But then also there was all that stuff saying that tests were coming back in like incorrect, or people weren't going to the test and getting a positive thing back. So if you have all that, I'm not saying it's completely real, but I don't.
Yeah, there's definitely ways to skew the data. So even now,
so how can you even be following that? If you know that, that's
no, but it is about personal choice, isn't it? So you're saying, I don't want to wear a mask, I don't want to do that. For me, I would rather go above and beyond to help protect as many people as I can, and that's just personal, isn't it? That's just the difference between me and you.
That will
not
help
necessarily
them.
Even because of the stats, because I believe it could help them.
Yeah.
And if you can do something,
that's why I wear a mask.
Why not?
If to help other people.
I know you
what
do,
I'm saying is that if I don't want to, and if I had a choice, if I knew that I could still walk into the school or still walk into the shop without one, I wouldn't wear it. I could be that guy and go, I'm exempt. I'm not, but I could lie, because I don't doubt people do, but I don't want to. I had a good old chat with an old lady, bless her. I don't know her name, but she was like definitely an older lady, and was in the post office last week. She was all masked up and stuff, struggling to breathe. I can't even remember how we got talking. I think I opened the door for her. There was a queue and she came in. I said, there's a seat there, rah. So she sat down. We had a little conversation and she was saying, I don't like these masks. And I was like, I'm not a fan. I didn't go down the whole thingy, the conspiracies and all that. But she's like, I'm actually exempt, but I just do it for other people. I was like, if you're exempt, I was like, and you've got a reason to not wear it, I was like, don't be wearing it. It's like, unless you're obviously fully fearful that you're going to get it. So, well, it's for other people. This is like an 80-odd-year-old woman that's worried about other people, and she's killing herself. What it looked like, she couldn't breathe properly, right? And she's just come in from the cold or whatever, so she might have done a long walk to get there. She's doing that because she wants to play her part and help people, and it breaks my heart to see it.
So, like, when Kareem was 9 months pregnant, there'd be a few times where she just didn't want to wear a mask, and that's because she didn't want to get lightheaded or fall over or anything like that. So when we went to the shops, I wore my mask and she just didn't. And like the looks that she got, everyone notices that you're not wearing a mask. Yeah. It's almost like, oh, there's a human being there because you can see their full face. It's like, and then it's like, why aren't they wearing a mask? So obviously they're having that thought. So even though she's worrying about the health of everyone, it's probably more the peer pressure of knowing if they go in somewhere, there's likely to be some confrontation to say, why aren't you wearing a mask? You're going to get questioned. That's not, I don't know.
This is where I say, like, people should just do it. If they want to wear it, they should wear it. But then I can understand if there's 50 people, 100 people in the shop, 50 got it on, 50 ain't. Obviously, there's going to be a lot more moisture, a lot more air, a lot more oxygen being breathed in and out, and it's going further for those that are not wearing it. But
it's just going out sideways and not.
No. That's what's with it on. I'm talking about the ones without. So they're freely breathing. You know, there's 50 people in that shop that are freely breathing. There's 50 that are suffocating and got masks on that are stopping them from breathing fully.
I don't know if they're suffocating.
Not suffocating.
All the masks.
I'm telling you now, when I was on that blooming vortex thing, so we done a program last week, an NCS program. There's this inflatable thing there. Emily knows it too well. Leon, you see it as well.
Yeah. I weren't there, but I saw it on the group chat.
Right, so that you put this belt on, and you're like an inflatable, and then you have to see how far you can run on this bungee cord. And I went against Jack. Yeah, I'm going to show you in the background.
I'll show a picture up.
Yeah, and I went against Jack, my brother Jack, so it was quite competitive, but oh my days, with that mask on, 3 goes I had, I think, maybe 4. I genuinely nearly had a panic attack. And the fabric was going into my mouth, and it was just horrible experience. So I thought, again, like, what is it come to? How am I doing an activity like this with this thing on my face? What is this all about? Like, there's no one else near me. Why do I have to do this? But it's just what we get told to do.
In outdoor spaces, I thought it was just indoor.
No, outdoor as well.
Indoor. We had the young people and stuff, I suppose. We probably didn't have to do it on that as such, because it is no contact with someone else.
NCS do form bubbles. It was more about the fact that you guys weren't assigned to a bubble, so you had to protect yourselves.
Yeah, we didn't want our dribble anywhere, basically, didn't our spray. But it was just horrible. And again, going back to that old lady, like, I don't doubt for a second she only put that mask on because she didn't want what Leon just said. She didn't want them eyes looking at her. She didn't want people sort of getting confrontational. I've seen loads of people not wearing them. I'm not going to get confrontational with anyone. It's their choice. What I don't like is the control of certain things that you have to do when actually, scientifically, it hasn't been proven to do anything beneficial. That's my opinion.
I was going to say that's an opinion at the minute. Do we have any?
Mic drop.
I don't know if we've got any facts to back that, definitely.
So should we? I reckon we should try and end it on a positive.
Yeah, solution focus, man. We've got to get solutions. What can we do, guys, girls?
What are we going to do during this lockdown? Because it's going to be slightly different. The weather's going to be bad.
Yeah, worse, definitely.
Has anyone got anything?
I've got an idea, like with the board game thing. Like I was looking at particular games that you can play that are like long. You know what I mean? That I can buddy up with someone. He's become my bubble buddy, basically, because he's like in a bubble with his wife, obviously, and I'm on my own. So
you're allowed a bubble, aren't you?
I'm allowed that. Yeah. What's gone is like my other mate that we would have done something like that with, but he's a bit flaky anyway. I like all right, Callum.
Calling him out.
And he. Funnily enough, he's the guy that stayed up all night to watch the election. So yeah, me and James are going to go through a game basically because we're expecting like this could last for ages. So let's get something meaty rather than an individual game. You kind of play a campaign. So you play like over a period of time. You got a character, you upgrade, you get gear, all that sort of stuff. Cool. Very dungeon crawlery. It's cool. But I asked him yesterday. I said like, you know, if we're going to bubble up, what sort of ideas you got? And that's the idea we came up with. There's also board games called legacy games that are like, say, imagine a board, and like over a period of like months, like you stick stickers on and the board changes and things happen.
You said about
and
this.
The story happens as well. Anyone that's interested, I highly recommend one called Pandemic. Ironically, Pandemic Legacy, I might add actually, but yeah, that's a great game. Would be very thematic.
We're living in it. Why play the game when we're living in it?
It's probably sold quite a lot actually in recent times. So that was that. Obviously my jiu-jitsu's going, but like any excuse that I can probably get together with people. I don't know, chuck a frisbee maybe with James. I don't know. You know, I'm not really thinking exercisey too much. I think I can still go for a walk. Do you know what I mean? There's plenty.
Yeah, there's no limit on what you can do.
Stuff that I can
outside.
Do. Yeah,
individually.
It's more the social side of things.
Yeah,
for everyone, isn't it?
I'm funny about my family. Like I want to see my family, and I don't quite know how I fit in with that because particularly my parents are older, and I haven't seen them for a while. And I was just getting the urge, like I could go and see them, and I'll have to check the rules like proper on that whether I'm allowed to. I think don't know.
From my
if I'm not, I'd be gutted.
From my understanding, I think if you choose to bubble up with, say, James and his wife, you wouldn't be able to go see your family because you're already in a bubble. So then you have to choose then, don't you? Actually, do you want to go see your family instead? And if it's your mum and dad say, you'd be all right in their bubble.
Because we do a virtual one.
Yeah,
she's
really
on the
hard.
Tech, my mum, bless her. She's in her 60s. She's on the tech.
All this is.
What's that?
You can come to work.
Yeah, and see all of us.
You can be in a room with 30 young people, but you can't go see mum and dad.
Yeah,
just saying.
Yeah, I feel like I'll be okay though. I'm gutted about the jiu-jitsu more than anything. So I was just going, you know, returning and all the aches and pains that you have when you start back at something that you haven't been to for a while.
Which feel so good, don't they? When you've done it for a while and you get those aches, they feel so good. They ache, obviously, and it's an ache for a reason, but it's a good ache.
Yeah, I just started back at
something.
I just started back doing American football, and it was exactly like that. And then that stopped. That's literally stopped again this week, like last weekend. So.
What we could do, and this is a solution for us. We're trying to find solutions for you guys as well. But solution for us, we could just do all the things that we want to do as work. So what you want to see your mum and dad? Get them in for a board game. We'll get it on the pod. It's work. Play a board game with your mum and dad.
No, it's not their work, so that doesn't count. You can't just
guests.
So we can't have guests on the pod for a little while, can we? Because it's not their work. So from my understanding, again, we'd have to read up on it, and nothing's set in stone just yet either. But
we need to wait till tonight.
We do need to wait.
Just reminded me, Max, actually, I was talking about myself, but actually advice for other people. Like from a board game perspective, I can give loads of advice on that. Like those kinds of games, there's online things called Tabletop Simulator, for example. Cool. You can link in with people on that. We've got Discord that commonly gets used on those, which is so you can talk to each other during those games. So it might be worth researching those. It's worth looking into games that you can play late. If you're like a husband and wife or whatever, then there's games that you can play as a pair that can be quite light or as heavy or whatever as you want to make them. So I'd probably recommend those too. Comments if you want some more advice about that.
Yeah, or any comments to any ideas, suggestions, or feedback or solution-based sort of comments that you could give, not just to us, for the viewers. So just putting a comment in the comment section doesn't just show your view, your idea, your solution, but it could be a seed for someone to see and then for that to grow and flourish in their brain as well.
Definitely.
Their mind, keep
or
them
we can
busy.
talk about on another podcast.
Or we could bring it up, defo. Because there is going to be a lot of people struggling. And I think that what we do need to do is what we haven't, or what a lot of people don't think that people in society do often enough, is actually come together and support each other. Yeah, it's only going to get harder. The first one, it was challenging, but we had the weather, like you said, Leon. This time we had a good day today and it's bright, but it's going to get cold, it's going to get icy, it's going to get frosty. Some people are not going to enjoy the comfort of their own home, so we try and bring them in.
Definitely.
Leon?
So I think, obviously I just had a daughter, so in my head I'm thinking it's quite nice to not have anyone around and we can just sort of focus on just her. So
that's cool.
We've got a good distraction. We've also got a 1,000-piece puzzle, which we're going to try and complete.
Got a kid and a 1,000-piece puzzle.
Yeah.
Don't all go out and start having babies now just because it's a distraction, right? Okay.
Babies, it's cool. So yeah, at the minute, I might try and go for a couple bike rides, but since the weather's changed a little bit, it's harder.
You don't want to get it dirty. It's a new bike.
Harder to get out.
It's a new bike. It's a new bike. You don't want to get it dirty.
Yeah, I thought about that. I don't have mud guards, so I just get sprayed with stuff. But otherwise,
all I'm hearing, boys, is excuses. That's all I'm hearing.
He's got a big Jeep. That's why I'm the big Jeep.
And the Jeep bike I have. The bike I've got is Leon. Chris lent it to Leon. It's Chris's bike. He lent it to Leon, and then Leon got a new one. I was done with it, and he was going to give it back. And Chris was a little bit like, he didn't really want to take it back, but he didn't want to lose it at the centre. I was like, I'll borrow it for a bit. And he was like, yeah, just you can have it. But when I do want it back, like as long as I can take it back when I want it back, it's like, all right, so you're loaning it to me. That's fine. It's a Jeep. It matches my car.
Nice.
But it's about 25, 30 years old. He's in about 20
solid
years old.
Though, isn't it? Like,
Did you say it weighs a ton?
It's like a motocross bike. It is insane how heavy it is. Yeah. Like it's a workout just getting on it. It's like
you need to just do downhill stuff only.
Yeah, mate, you'll take out other bikes on that.
But we still need to do that bike ride.
Mate, we can do it, man. We can exercise outdoors, one person.
Yeah, 2 meters, 3 meters. You can do that. It's just when it's more than 10, it's the problem, or 6 or whatever.
Yeah.
Anything more from you? Lockdown wise?
No, I in terms of positivity, even. That was bad.
Positivity?
That was my Kettering accent coming out and losing all my T's. Positivity. In terms of positivity, I think for me, this next lockdown will just be about focusing on like doing things that I like doing myself. I actually don't mind being indoors. I love a bit of Netflix. I love watching movies.
You like your Lego?
I love my Lego. Yeah. So it'll just be about doing things that I want to do and making sure that keeping up the mental health. And like I think we don't actually say it enough, but Hear2Listen is about mental health. It is a company about mental health. So if you are struggling or you do want to talk, then the numbers on the website, get in touch with us. There's a live chat on there, and there's people here that can definitely support you. Not necessarily me, but there are people here that will definitely support you. So get in touch, definitely.
Even if it is
don't
just
be on your
for us
own.
to
There's no
listen,
need.
that's it, 100%. We don't say that enough, and we.
There
need to
is
start
no
bringing that
need to
in
be on your
every
own
single time
throughout
we
this lockdown. Definitely.
Definitely.
We did tease at the beginning of the episode that we'd be talking about school support, but we'll come back to that another time. Perhaps while we're in the midst of it. I mean,
Yeah,
we want to
good
support
idea.
you guys first before we start talking about how we support the schools. But yes.
Yeah. And just before we finish, just a reminder that we do have Sean coming back.
Cool.
He was going to come back this week. I said November on the video that I don't know if it's gone out yet.
Yeah.
Okay. That will, by the time this comes out, I don't know, it's all very confusing.
It's like politics.
But yeah, we've got Sean. So those that had watched the episodes called Life Sentences, that if you've got any questions or comments for Sean, even if it's just a nice one, thanks for sharing. We'd love to hear from you as well. So keep us in mind for that. We haven't got a date yet, but I mean, lockdown, that's kind of put a spanner in the works as well. But we will get Sean back, and we would like to sort of bank a bunch of questions and comments for him as well. So be great to hear from you. So on the website contact page, or you can go through Anchor, the voice message I think we've got, which we tested, which works. Thank you very much. That worked very well. So that's good. Yeah. All right. Decent. We've been here to listen. Thank you.